In this video, we are going to have a look at the Duotone front traction pad installation process for your new surfboard. All new Duotone surfboards come with only a kick pad traction already installed on the board, and then it's up to you to decide if you want to use a wax or an additional front traction pad. Me personally, I like and prefer to use a traction pad since it's a much more cleaner option for my board itself and for anything around it. The Duotone traction pad especially, it's a very good quality product since it has got this nice and almost rubbery like coating and finish on top. As a comparison, I'm going to show you additional traction pad which I've ordered on the internet from a service starting with A ... finishing with Express. I'm not going to name this here because we don't want to create any unnecessary free advertisements for those services, but in any event, that traction pad from that service also does the job, but it has got just more of a foamy feel, more of like a flimsy film. It has about 5 millimeters thickness, and during one of my recent kite surfing sessions in waves, one of those traction pads made of this EVA foam got just torn off my board. So as you can see, it does come off at times, whereas this Duotone traction pad will be much more robust. This specific model of the Duotone traction pad is the 2023 model, and the specific exact version of it is called Violet. There's few other options on the market and to choose from. The shape is the same, it's just a different graphic on top of the print. Let's move on to the installation process itself. The front traction pad from Duotone comes in 8 separate and individual stripes. 4 of them are the long ones which should be placed at the front of the board, and 4 short stripes which should fill the gap in the middle of the board between the front long stripes and the kick pad of the board. The first stage is to spread all the stripes around the board so you can visually see and decide how you want to arrange them. Just keep in mind the correct position of each and individual stripe. What I mean is that each piece has its right way around, so either remember how they were arranged in the packaging box or refer to an image from, for example, the Duotone website if you get confused. Here I'm going to briefly elaborate on the right way round of each and individual piece of the traction pad. As you can see here, I've got 2 boards. This one is the WAM SLS and this one here is the Pro Whip. They've got the same traction pad as far as the shape is concerned. This one is 2023, this one is a little bit older, it's 2019. But what do I mean individual stripes, their positions and the placement on the board? As you can see, for example, this piece or this one, so the outer small pieces, they've got this narrow part here at the bottom and more wider part at the top. The same here, if you look at the kick pad, we've got also what? Different angles, right? So we've got this ascending angle, straight line and descending angle. The same here, we're supposed to match that. So ascending angle, more straight line, descending angle. So if I was gonna take this piece, for example, and turn it 180 degrees and put it on here, then my wide part will end up at the bottom and the narrow part will end up at the top. Whereas if we've got it in the correct position, we can see that this narrow part is at the bottom and then it opens up, goes up to a wide part, and then we've got the extension of this piece in form of this piece which goes to the front, the long stripe, which they've got their own as well, ascending and descending angles and additional things which we should remember as far as their position on the board is concerned. Also, if you look at these 2 pieces, they look the same, but if you look closely, you'll see that this line is not exactly straight. The same, this line is not exactly straight. So we've got like a ascending angles to the outside part of the pad itself, because we are kind of keeping that design line correction. Now, if you was gonna put this piece into this position, then you would distort the whole design pattern, so to speak, right? So yes, physically you can put them in different positions, you know, mix and match if you want to, but as you can see, and you'll see at the end also of this video, that there is this by design a specific look of a composition that we are basically supposed to follow to make the whole thing look correctly. And the same idea applies to this top and long stripes. So as you can see here, they've got, for example, this cutout here, which is the extension of this ascending angle. And the same here, we've got ascending angle, and this is extension before we reach this straight line. So again, if you was gonna take this part, for example, turn it 180 degrees and stick it here, then now you end up with the wrong shape of the whole pad. Also, you can use this left stripe, which basically always has got this Duotone logo at the top left. So once you place this piece of a pad, you know that you can just mirror it in terms of the other one for the other side, and then you make sure that way you've got everything the correct way around. The second stage of the installation process is that we can use a pencil to draw reference points onto the board to help us place the pads in desired position. Now there's two ways that we can go about it. One way is that we can draw the outlines of the pad and where it's supposed to be, where we want it to be in essence. And I did draw like outlines only on the corners of the pad. I didn't outline the whole thing. And also the second way is to use additionally the measuring tape. And that way I can measure from one side to the other side of the board. So in essence, the diameter of the board, I can find the middle point. And with that middle point, then I can mark it and create the gaps between the pad more precisely once I know where the middle of the board is. And yes, sure, you can go about it without the pencil and without the measuring tape and all that. You can just place the pads using the sense of, you know, your vision, and just stick the pads that way. So there is no need for this extra and additional tools and, you know, extra ways to go about it. But if you want to be super precise and you want to make sure that your pad as a final effect will be spread correctly and nicely, then use these tools, and they will just help you to achieve that desired look. The third and the final stage of the whole installation process is the sticking of the pads themselves to the board. If you look into Duotone's manual, which comes with the traction pad packaging, you'll see that Duotone recommends peeling around 5 centimeters of the backing paper and then sticking that part of the pad to the board and working your way through the whole sticker. I've got my own way to go about it, and by the way, the way that Duotone recommends is a very good way, but the one which I go with is the way where professionals apply big stickers onto the surfaces. So the way you go about doing it, the slightly better way, is by cutting through the middle section of the sticker of the pad, of the backing paper of the pad, and that way you've got two pieces which you can then a little bit fold over and expose the middle section of the sticker itself. That way you can stick it to the part that you want it to, and because the other parts of the sticker are not exposed yet, now we've got more room of adjustments or correction of any mistakes in original placement of your sticker. Now you can decide if you want to work your way up or if you want to work your way down. It's completely up to you. But again, doing it this way, it will give you more room to correct any potential errors. Sure, you can also remove and peel the whole backing paper and expose the whole sticky part of the pad and then try to just align the piece of the traction pad onto the board. Just remember that once you expose that sticky part of the pad, it is very, very sticky. So what you want to avoid doing is having to stick the pad onto the board, having to now peel it off because you misalign something, and then you know, sticking it again or doing it a few times over and over, because each time you peel off that pad, that glue, that adhesiveness properties of the pad and of the glue itself will be affected. There's a few more things that you should remember about when applying the traction pad onto your board. First thing is, if your board is new, then you've got nothing to worry about. You can then go straight into applying the traction pad onto it. But if you've used your board, especially if your board had some wax on it or an old traction pad, you need to make sure that you remove any residue of that wax or of the glue from the old traction pad, and you want to wipe, you want to clean afterwards your board with something that is called rubbing alcohol or any cleaner that is non-oil based. That will basically help the glue to stick properly to the board, and not only that, but it will stay glued onto the board for a long time. It won't start to peel off when you start to expose your board and the pad to the water, especially salty water. Once you applied your traction pad onto your board, also you want to leave it for 24 hours to all the adhesiveness to start to work and combine with the surface of the board, and that way you will make sure that it will last the longest. This is how you go about the whole process of the installation of your brand new traction pad on your brand new surfboard. With all that being said, I am Lassom. As always, remember, be inspired, be creative, and be active. I'll see you soon. On to the next one.